a good referable source for you. And he goes, I agree. And
Right.
so, you know, it was just kind of a,
does it help you kind of identify your value proposition when you talk about it in that way, where a lot of people, when they go to solicit business from referral partners, will use a lot of the adjectives that everybody throws around? And when you categorize everything, because when, in my mind, there's two hats that we wear in our business every single day. We are the originator, and we are also the loan officer. And I believe that there's a distinct difference between the two. And for me, a loan officer is somebody that handles the paperwork. The loan officer is the one that manages the tasks and the tactical side of the business, getting the loan from womb to tomb. And that's really what a loan officer's responsibility is. Well, we do that very, very well, as just because that's how we've been brought up in this business, is that we understand the technical side of our business extremely well. But we also hate it because the entrepreneur part of us, which is the originator hat, never really gets the chance to come out and play the way we would love it to, because we always get sucked into the minutia. Well, the way that I've always approached it, because I'll be honest with you, I am, and still arguably would tell everybody, I'm the worst loan officer on the planet. I could never turn in a 1003 right. If I got involved in the loan, it would just make a mess. So I always had a team that I built that would handle that part of the business, but I was exceptionally good at being the originator. And I realized that if I could just stay in that lane, my business would do really well. I mean, I'm not a mega producer. I mean, 2013, when I stopped originating loans, I think I did 15 million. 63% of it came from my past clients and current clients. 63% of my 15 million came from my past clients and current clients. So the whole model, or the platform that I work from with you guys, is really from the standpoint of, there is a simple yet very effective, yet very rewarding, and yet very, very balanced way to do your business if you just understand the difference between being a loan officer and an originator. Because if you're going to have to be a loan officer, and we all have to be, why not take advantage of those moments or that time and play the originator when the moment, when the moments make themselves available, which is what I call referable moments, or orchestrating referable situations, which a loan officer, you do every day. Every time you touch a file, you have a chance to become referable if you position yourself the right way.
I agree. And that's the thing, is because that's what leads to, and it's all been said, and you've said it, and I believe it, I've seen it, but I don't necessarily change it, in that we call reluctance and everything is because, what do I say that's different than anybody else? And it just causes you to sit there and overthink it and not pick up the phone. But like you said, if you have something to say, hey, I'm tooting my own horn. Here's what you need to know. Here's how I can help you. Here's how I'm different,
But here's the one thing I would tell you that I don't want you to use. And when you say tooting your own horn, there's a definition for what I call leaning. Leaning in conversation is when you invest yourself into somebody else because you're lacking something in either in your personal or your business life, and you need that other person to fulfill it. When we call up a realtor and we are coming from a place of self-service, or we come from a place of very ego-based, or when we come from a position where all we're trying to do is get that lead. When we talk about selling, that's what people have reluctance with. We don't have a problem picking up the phone, Todd, and talking to our friends or our family or just people if we have something of value to talk about. The problem is that as soon as we see the relationship between a realtor or a referral partner and or a potential referral partner and ourselves, we become very, very skittish because we don't want to lean on somebody. We don't want to project our needs upon somebody else because that feels very rejecting if they can't fulfill that need. And so why put ourselves into that situation? The whole premise of everything that I'm working with you guys on is really going to be this simple. When you talk about the value that you bring, it's never done in an I statement. It's always done as it relates to the benefit of the borrower. So when I would talk to realtors, it would be, you know what, Mr. Agent, one of the things about the team that I've built, or the branch that I work with, or about my business, is that I believe that we are what you would call a relationship amplifier. My ultimate goal with this, Mr. Realtor, is to have your client come back to you and say thank you. So everything that's done on the mortgage side of the business is centered around doing it in such a way that the client becomes so happy and ecstatic with the result of what they are getting and how it's being delivered that they come back to you and they sing our praises. Because I believe that if I'm able to amplify the relationship between myself and that client, it undoubtedly amplifies the relationship between the client and yourself. And if I'm able to do that, we create a referable situation where that client becomes more likely to tell their friends and the family or the people they care about the process, which, let's not fool ourselves, the right and the left hand are all part of the same process. Here's the cool part, is that if I'm able to do that through the client and you see the benefit, now what happens to my relationship with you, Mr. Realtor? It becomes amplified. And I coined that term called the triangle of trust. That entire mindset allows you and I to build what I call is a very partner-oriented relationship, because most realtors and lenders have a very parasitic host relationship, and I don't like that. And so instead, I always figured, what was the one thing that most realtors and consumers complained most about or have provided? What is the one thing that both the realtor and the client feel like this industry lacks at a very high level? And I bet you if you ask any realtor, they're going to say the same thing: lack of communication. People don't deliver on what they promise. They overpromise and underdeliver. And you can always label it into communication. Well, Mr. Realtor, the communication umbrella that my team has built is really centered around these three categories. Here's the benefit of working with a relationship amplifier like we are. We are great consultants, we are great negotiators, and we are great managers of fears and expectations, all that fall into communication.
That's awesome.
And so when you take the statement and you're conscious of the word I, every time you speak and you make it about them and their client, what do you think happens below the surface? What do you think happens to the person, your audience, as you're describing that? What do they start to sense when you talk about it in that way and not always make it about I?
That it, like, I don't know how to put it. Basically, that, I don't know. I mean,
you differentiate yourself. You become more connected to them because you are starting to speak their language. What a realtor thinks the moment that they start talking to a lender is, how are you different? And I said it on the call last time. The only thing that makes you different are the words that come out of your mouth. Now, I'm not saying something that every other lender doesn't want to have happen. I'm just articulating it in such a way that when you speak to an audience, it starts to resonate with them, because now you got them not thinking about you. You're not getting them to think about you and your ego. You're getting them to think about what their business would look like with you handling the financing side of it. They begin to start realizing how good it's going to feel when a client says thank you to them. And they start to it starts to resonate inside of them, and they're like, yeah, I get it, because you're not making it about you. Everybody else shows up and makes it about commodity, which is the rates of fees and all that other junk, and they always make it about themselves. So when you start using the I statement all the time, it turns people off, because you become very self-absorbed and self-centric. Not self-centered, self-centric, because you're making it all about you. And what is a sale? A sale is not about you. A sale is providing a value that helps somebody else achieve what they're supposed to be after, or whatever their problem is. And most realtors' problems are they don't know how to be referable. They don't know how to generate business organically. They don't know how to talk to consumers. They don't know how to deliver in situations that help amplify their relationship. And so by this conversation unfolding, you actually become more valuable to them, and you're not just a transaction, because by partnering with you in that respect, they have the best chance of turning their business into more business simply by partnering with you and taking your lead.
I love it.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So the truth behind what we're talking about really is getting over that fear of leaning, because that's really what everyone does when they pick up the phone, and that's why they hate doing it. That's why the Thor's hammer is so powerful. The concept of doing it that's a no-brainer. It's what do you talk about every week for 12 weeks that gets people to get them to buy into you. That's why they say frog them. Well, frogging them is great to get them to allow you to call them, but after 2 or 3 weeks, unless it happens by accident, unless that realtor just simply says, I'm sick and tired of you calling, stop calling me, or by accident you get a lucky break, or the realtor becomes so disenchanted with their current lender that they say, I want to give you a chance, you're really not basing much on the way of your having control. You're not creating a situation that's what in effect would be referable, unless you start communicating your value as a higher purpose, and that is everything we talk about, Todd, is the same stuff that a realtor needs to hear.
Mm-hmm.
It's the exact same coaching that you can give to a realtor. I'm willing to bet you if you ask a realtor what makes them referable, they're not going to have an answer for you, not a good one. Right. And if you started asking them what are the 3 things that you get paid to do, like you get paid 3% commission. What do you get paid for each 1% commission that you can't get out of a for sale by owner box? Or what makes you different than a discount shop? Or what makes you different than the broker that's two seats away from you, or 2 streets over, or 2 cities over from you? The beauty of this is that when we engage in these calls once a week, you begin to have less doubt of your value, and when you have more value and you believe that you bring something to the table beyond just asking for business, you tend to look at yourself going, I am a relationship amplifier. The people that I'm calling don't know me, but that's only because they've never gotten a chance to talk to me. And if they talk to me, they're going to see the value of what I bring. And it's not that you closing loans is value. It's not that you can deliver on what you promise. It's the fact that when you speak, you have something to give them that's valuing, that's nurturing, that's very partnership oriented. And if you really peel away the layers, it all comes down to the same thing. Every client that we get is very hard to come by. And every loan officer promises the world and falls short. But a lot of them just don't know what to say. And a realtor that would love to hear what you have to say is going to start to feel like you're different.
Right.
And they're going to want to give you a shot. Now, obviously, if you get the at-bats and they fall apart because you can't, and you're not that good at the technical side, then that's a different animal altogether. But my whole purpose in my relationship with you is, in a couple weeks, I want you to be able to walk into a realtor's office or a coffee with a realtor, or pick up the phone and talk to a referral source. And I don't care who the referral source is, but my goal is to have it so that when you speak, people are attracted to what you had to say. They value what you are, and it's not a loan officer. You're somebody that brings something to the table that is different than every other loan officer. And the one thing that you can do that no one else can, you can create referable situations, and you know when they happen, and you know when to put your originator hat on, and you know how to make that a win for the agent and yourself, so that you can build your business through meaningful relationships that care and value you.
Yep. And then you take everything else off the table, rate, all that stuff.
Well, because none of it matters. I mean, when you really ask a realtor, do they care what your client's getting in rate? No. What they figure is the only thing that makes a loan officer good is the cheapest rate, because the rest of it is a given. The rest of the process is a total shit show. Yeah. So at least at the end, the realtor can go, I know it sucked, but at least you got the best rate in the market. And the reality is that when we talk about setting the bar of expectation up in the beginning, one of the things that I had said last week was I used to present my clients with a turbulence letter. It was, I created the bar of expectation to the point where, and it's funny the way I did it, and there was always, I had a 15-minute presentation that was canned, but it wasn't. I mean, I knew the bullet points, but I never put them in a set order. And one of the things was, Mr. and Mrs. Client, I got to be honest with you. You know, you haven't bought a home in 6 months, a year. Well, the last time you bought a house, it was totally different. Now, when you thought it was bad last time, well, it's amplified. You know, like we've talked about this business being amplified. Our business is so complicated. It's black lights and tweezers in your financial life. I mean, that's really what it is. And it's very, very uncomfortable, and it's very, very just, it's uncomfortable for me because I don't want to have to do it, but it is what is. So, Mr. and Mrs. Real Client, I just got to be honest with you. At some point during the process, and I'm promising you this, so I'm just bringing it to your service now, you will hate me. I'm not joking. I will call you, and you will be upset, and I venture to guess that you probably will hate me at that moment. And I'm totally aware of why, and I get it. And we would typically laugh, and they'd be like, really? And I'm like, how bad can it be? And I'm like, trust me, it could be bad. We kind of dialogue a little bit, and I give them the sheet. And I'm like, here's 85 to 100 things that can go wrong. Notice how you have some, I have some, the realtor, the listing agent, the seller, the list goes on. I just want you to know that we typically do a really good job of avoiding a majority of these, but there is that chance that we could run into some turbulence and it could be really, really bad. But here's what you get from me. Remember when I told you that my business is predicated on 3 fundamentals, one of them which is managing people's fears and expectations? I'm going to be right there for you. Whatever the situation is, I've been through it. So you may not like it, but know that I'm the best person to help navigate through the process. I just need your unconditional commitment to work with me through it. I know you'll be frustrated. I will be frustrated. There's things that we can predict, and there's things that we can't. This is an example, Todd, of when you set the bar of expectation, it creates moments that are referable. Just by setting the bar of expectation, you're projecting into the transaction. You know as well as I do, at some point, something's going to go wrong. It's inevitable. And in the event that it doesn't, you've now become even more referable because you've set the bar of expectation that there's going to be problems. And if there's not, and in the event that there is a problem, you become referable because you told them the realities up front, and they've still decided to work with you. And that's what I mean about being the originator in the beginning. Provides you many opportunities through the process while you're a loan officer of being able to orchestrate referable moments. So I'll give you a case in point. So my wife, Denise, who maybe you met at the conference, she took over my practice for a lack of a better term. I gave my database to a friend of mine who Ellingar Basic, who was up on stage this at the conference. Denise gets all the current referral. You know, I still get referrals from my pipeline calling me. So we had a client call me. One of my very good clients, Constantine, referred me one of his coworkers. And I said to my wife, I said, Denise, I'm going to meet with the client and you. I'm going to do the first 15-minute presentation that I normally do, and then I want you to go through the process with him, you know, as a loan officer. I just want you to see what happens. So I go in there, I do my 15-minute dog and pony show, and it was, you know, it was over the top because I wanted to drive home the message to my wife. So she comes back an hour and a half later, and she sits down, she goes, I got to be honest with you, Doug, that whole presentation you did, it kind of made me uncomfortable. I said, oh, really? Okay, all right. Well, that's fair. I mean, the clients didn't feel comfortable because they didn't know what to expect. And I said, well, so as we go through the process, I know you're going to take over. I just need you to promise me 2 things. Promise me, 1, that you'll always look for those moments to ask them to not keep you a secret. Just constantly, every time they say thank you to you, just say, thanks for not keeping me a secret. Please, I'm counting on you for a referral, okay? So 45 days goes through the process, maybe a little bit longer. They go to closing, they close, and he hands her a phone number to a coworker of his cubicle buddy, who's looking to buy a $400,000 house. And she calls me up, she goes, I got a referral. I'm like, that's awesome. So I said, I want to dialogue with you about this because I want to peel away the layers of this and just kind of look at this. So do you think, Denise, that you did a great job? She goes, yeah, I think I did a really good job. I said, okay, I think that's pretty fair. I said, how many times through the process did you ask for a referral? She goes, I probably only did it maybe 2 or 3 times. I said, okay, so not consistently. She's like, no. I go, do you think that you got a referral because of you doing a great job as a loan officer? She goes, yeah. I go, how many times did you get referrals from being a great loan officer from all of your other transactions? She goes, not many. I go, okay, so it begs the question that there's a chance, let's just say 30% chance that you got this referral because you did a really good job, right? Good. I said, now let's take a look at the front of the transaction where I did 15 minutes of my triangle of trust referable process and what we're counting on. I go, now you take that and you put it with your great transaction. Do you think that had something to do with you getting a referral? She goes, absolutely. I said, there's probably a 80% chance that because of my presentation and you did a great job that we were able to get a referral, like 80%. So I believe that about 50% of the success of getting a referral comes from setting the stage in the beginning, and I believe 30% of it comes from doing a really, really great job. Now, the other 20% I believe is just, you're not going to touch 20% of your clients. I mean, you're just not going to get everybody. I go, but it begs the question that if I did a great presentation, you did a horrible job, you probably wouldn't have gotten a referral. She goes, absolutely not. I go, but it also begs the question that if you do both, you've amplified your ability to get a referral by 80%. She goes, I believe that. I go, now had I not did the presentation and you did a really good job, would you have asked them for a referral? She goes, probably not, because I wouldn't have felt comfortable doing it. I said, okay. So let's just say 30%. So the math in my head is if you're not creating the bar of expectation up in the very beginning and doing what you do anyway, which is a great job in every loan, you're losing about 50% of the ability of your business growing just from working with people that you do your job for every day for.
I love it.
And that's the problem where a lot of us fall into, because if you are forced to be a loan officer every day, Todd, why not take full advantage of getting those thank yous or appreciation statements and turning them into, you know what, Todd, thanks for noticing. Man, we work really hard at building this, making this process as easy as possible. I told you that could get really, really tough sometimes. That's why we count on our clients like you to talk to and advocate us to the people you care about. We're still counting on you for that. And people are always like, absolutely, because they came into the conversation or they came into the relationship before you started talking about mortgages, talking about the expectations and defining why you do what you do. See, we're so quick to jump into what we do because we don't have any other value to talk about. We don't have anything else to bring to the table except rates and fees, and that's why we always most of us end up back having that conversation because we have nothing else to provide. We are simply an order taker at McDonald's, and we get paid minimum wage to turn around and grab a burger off the shelf and put it on your plate. The reality is everything that I'm working with you guys on is really centered around there is so much more, and if you get to spend your day talking to people that are calling you up going, I need your help, it's so much more valuable and so much more rewarding than having to talk to people who don't know you, like you, and trust you, and are shopping you, and you constantly have to sell yourself every single day. And that holds true with realtors and any other referral partner you want to deal with.
Yeah, and that's what I can't wait is to make that switch to where you're not having to sell yourself every time you run across somebody.
Well, and I will tell you that I'm going to need you to use this word for the rest of my relationship with you, and I want you to repeat it over and over, and that is being intentional.
Okay.
Intentional. Intention, 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 intention. And by that I mean every time you speak, every time you open your mouth to talk about what you do, stop. Stop talking about what you do first and talk about why you do it. Okay. Talk about the reason why. And please use the words that I'm using. You probably are very similar to every other loan officer that I'm coaching. Everyone wants to be made to feel like they matter. Your clients want to feel like they matter, your realtors want to feel like they matter, and we want to feel like we matter. So where's the catalyst start? It starts with understanding that I am a relationship amplifier. My sole purpose isn't to close a loan. I honestly don't believe I'm the best loan officer for every person in the city, but I do believe that I'm the best person for every person in the city to talk to help them figure out what their best plan is. What's the best course of action? And if you show up with every phone conversation or every face-to-face meeting going after only one thing, and that is a thank you, you will be amazed at how easy it is to start crafting your conversations around getting these people to expand your brand for you. See, your brand isn't loans, brother. Your brand is not mortgages, loans, rates, fees, turn times, branch manager. None of that stuff matters. What matters is people feeling like you believe what they believe. And every consumer in my 20-plus year career history, every time, if I had a nickel, every time I heard somebody go, God, that's so refreshing to hear. That's exactly what my husband and I were looking for. That's exactly what I want. And that is nothing to do with mortgages. That's my first 15-minute presentation around why you want to work with me. You want to work with me because I define it differently. I see it differently. And it goes back to what is the one thing that makes you different than everybody else. And it's not anything else besides what comes out of your mouth.
Love it.
So when you pick up the phone and you talk to your realtors, you talk to your referral partners, it's really, really simple. Stop talking about I and stop talking about anything else besides your why. And your why can be very, very projected, meaning I believe that the role that we play is to help make your relationship with your client stronger. My company's sole purpose in doing this is to make your client come back to you and say thank you. Because I believe that if I'm successful at doing that, I've won on two fronts. I've made an advocate out of you, and I guarantee I've made an advocate out of my client, out of your client. And if we can advocate, if we can get our client to advocate us to the people that they care about, just look at a person's Facebook account, buddy. It's infinite. I'm not saying it happens all the time, but now you can start working with each other and going, if you really want to build a business that doesn't require you to be a slave or require you to constantly reduce your fees or constantly have to deal with people who don't respect you, then maybe we could look at building a partnership around how do we create referrals within the business that we do together. Most realtors don't get it. They don't. Most realtors don't even know how to balance a checkbook, let alone understand the value of relationships.
Yeah.
And I said from very, very early on, I said my business, because I didn't like realtors, 63% of my business was past clients and current clients. I didn't want to deal with realtors. I was not going to bank my financial future on a realtor. From the simple fact that I don't think realtors are a financial, I mean, they're not a good bet. They're just not.
Yep.
And so I made a commitment to myself that I was going to be the value because I believed that I was a better professional than a realtor. So in my last year, I gave out 25 purchase transactions to my realtors. I have 5 realtors in my stable. I gave out 5 purchase transactions, and that didn't even account for the ones that had listings. And I believe that I was the value. I believe that I was the prize. And the reason I knew that I was the prize was because I was always getting clients to refer me. So if your client who's referred you from a realtor refers you a client, that makes you invaluable to that realtor. Especially if you go back to them and go, hey, listen, Mr. Realtor, just want to let you know, so-and-so just referred me their brother who's looking at buying a home, and they knew that they had to get pre-approved before they were ready to go buy. I just got him pre-approved. He's ready for $250. I gave him your name and number. Have at it. Man,
that's the best thing you can hope for.
Oh my! And it's not even okay. Don't ever use the word hope. That is
okay.
Hope is a drug, and I call it hopium. Everybody picks up the phone and hopes that they're going to have a conversation that leads to business. You're never going to learn how to rely on hope. You're going to learn how to rely on what you already know and what you already feel. I'm just going to teach you on how to say it. You're done hoping. This isn't going to be a gamble anymore. This is going to be, you're going to be like a surgical instrument. When you talk to your realtors, when you talk to your clients, you're going to magnify your abilities to where they're going to become your brand. They're going to be walking billboards in your community talking about you to the people they care about, and that's what we want.
Awesome.
That makes sense?
Okay, absolutely it does. I appreciate it, Doug. This is so good. I'm writing a I need to take a shorthand course or.
No. I've recorded this call for you, buddy.
Good.
I've recorded it. You're awesome. Just gonna I'm always gonna record it so that you don't have to sit there and take notes. But here's my goal. So here's my goal for you for the next week. Have more of these conversations around what you bring to the table. Sorry, not what you bring to the table, why you bring it to the table. Talk to the realtors about just the communication. You know, if you've got a new realtor, call them up, or if you got a list of realtors, you call and go, hey, listen, Mr. and Mrs. Agent, I just want to let you know, I think I found the secret to helping our clients get the best possible experience out of this transaction. I think I finally figured it out. I'd love to share it with you. Call me when you get a moment. Or I just learned the secret to getting your clients to refer you during the process. Whatever you want to call it, but you get in front of them and go, listen, I finally figured this out. You know, I've talked to you about it, or I'm sure you know about it. We kind of feel like communication's like the worst problem in our business, right? People don't deliver what they promise. They don't care. Well, I finally get it. You know, I'm working with this coach at my company, and he said to me, I'm a relationship amplifier. Well, I realized that you are too. And by you referring me, you're giving me a chance to amplify your relationship with your client. And believe me, I want to take that so seriously. So here's what I've decided to do. I've decided to break down my whole process into 3 categories. I'm a negotiator, I'm a consultant, and I'm a manager of fears and expectations. And my goal by doing all this with your clients is that I promise that your client, when you refer somebody to me, will come to you and say thank you. Todd, when was the last time anybody thanked you for something that you did for them?
Just this past weekend.
Okay. So what happened in that scenario?
I basically heard through the grapevine these folks were looking to purchase a home, and he's a veteran and whatnot, and they'd gone back and forth, and they had been working with somebody, and I just basically heard about it through the grapevine. I approached them and just said, hey, here's what I do. And here's what I'm willing to do for you. If you want me to just take a look and see what's going on. And I looked at what they were doing, and they were actually working with somebody that I was familiar with on the other side. And they had a great plan in place, and I reviewed it, and they came back later and just said, thank you so much for being honest and letting us know. I was like, yeah, you're in great hands, and I'll check in with you know, in 2 weeks, and please keep me in mind and all that. So, you know, it was nice.
You did what was right by the client, right?
Exactly.
Okay. So here. Are you open for a little bit of coaching?
Sure. Absolutely.
Okay. So you've just hit the nail on the head as to why it is so important to talk about the why before you talk about your business. You don't know what the result's going to be of talking about your business. You don't know if you're going to be able to help them, or if they're qualified, or if they're even going to want to work with you, okay? Mm-hmm. You go into a situation putting your best foot forward. We all do, but we don't know the outcome. Right. So my advice is, this is why it is so infinitely important to talk about why you do things before you talk about what you do. Because what happens is, when you talk about your why for the first 15 minutes, or however long the duration is, people begin to buy into you. Nothing else. They buy into you. They believe you want the same things they do. They believe that you're in alignment with what they believe. You show them and are part of what they want. You become a piece of the process of them helping their goals. While you establish that, you're explaining to them that your business is relationship oriented. It's based on a foundation of trust and understanding and belief that people, if you provide them with a very high level of product and process, they refer you. I'll give you an example. You have a favorite restaurant, Todd, that you go to? If you're going out for an anniversary or something special, where would you go? Local?
Yeah,
chain?
Probably local place.
Okay. Chain restaurant?
Nope.
Family owned, something simple?
Yep.
What's the name of it?
It's called FNG.
Okay, FNG. Does FNG advertise?
You know, I don't know, to be honest with you. I just kind of
stumbled
upon it.
Have you ever seen a coupon for them?
No.
Is it busy?
Yes.
So break down a restaurant for you. There's two parts of a restaurant experience. There's the process, which is the moment you pull into the parking lot to the moment you pull out of the parking lot. That's the process. That means the way you're greeted, the way the waiter or waitress deals with you, the way they're talked to, the way everything. The product is the food, right? That's the product. If the process is bumpy but the food's fantastic, you'll come back. If the process is unbelievable but the food's a little iffy, you might come back. It's hit or, you know, you give it a second try. But if both are fantastic, both the product and the process are fantastic, you become a raving fan. Todd, you are a raving fan of FNG. They didn't pay you to say this. They didn't ask for you to say this. They didn't do anything besides provide you with what they believed is their motto: high product, high quality product, and high quality process. You are effectively a raving fan. If I was to call you up and go, I'm looking for a nice restaurant to go to, you'd be like, go to FNG. That's amazing. Now, you've said it by me asking you what's your favorite restaurant. Imagine if you created a situation where when you left that restaurant, you were compelled to want to tell 3 people about it. And you were adamant about telling the people you care about that they needed to go check out this restaurant. Do you think that there's a chance that one of the 3 people that you tell would go to that restaurant in the month?
Yeah, absolutely.
My God, it's inevitable. You are a living experience of what it means to be a raving fan. Your clients can all be that way too if you just create that bar of expectation in the beginning. And here's the message behind what I was saying with regards to this client you just described. If you talk about the why in the beginning, you get them excited about your business model. You get them excited that I know that I can't help you, but you will appreciate my honesty and my integrity to where, yeah, I get that I can't do your loan, but I would love to earn the right to work with somebody you know and you care about, because I promise that they will come back to you and say thank you. And at that point, they're going, yeah, absolutely, we'd love to. I've gotten many referrals from clients that were credit repair specialists, credit repair people, that I simply said, before we get into doing all this credit stuff, let me tell you a little bit about why, because I think it'll help you understand where I'm coming from, and you'll understand the sincerity in my voice, and you'll follow my plan a little bit more when you understand my why. I had people that I couldn't buy a house for. They referred me to their friends and their family. Now, some of them were also credit repair, but some of them were actual transactions. I've actually closed loans and met new referral partners out of transactions that I never closed. And that's a testament to starting with the why I did it, not with the what I do.
Right. Because
when you ask somebody to refer you or keep you in mind after, that's not the agreement that they asked for.
Right.
You've got to invite them into your house and tell them what to expect before they walk in. Once they're in your house, they're going to love it. But they need to take their shoes off before they step onto your carpet. They have to take their coats off and hang them in this closet. They have to sit on these chairs. They've got to acknowledge your wife by her name. I mean, there's these little details. But if you set the stage in the beginning saying, before I let you guys in, just a couple things that I want you to understand, because then you'll understand why we do what we do.
Like it.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So your homework assignment for this week is going to be really simple. I don't know what your offense looks like. I mean, I don't know what your goal is every single day and how many people you talk to. But going back to the being intentional, I want you to start implementing the conversations with the realtors and stop feeling like you have to lean on them for business. You're not calling them for business. You're calling them to try to help them understand the value of what you bring to the table. I want you to pay attention to all of the people that say thank you throughout the week. Everybody that says something that, some sort of an appreciation to you, I want you to respond with thanks for noticing.
Okay.
Consistently.
Okay.
See, this is a piece of our value belief that we don't tap into. We do so many things well for people that it's so easy for us to go, no big deal, my pleasure, no problem, glad to help, it's my job. God, that's so minimalizing what your value is. When you start paying attention to all the things that you do that people thank you for, you develop a sense of confidence, you develop a sense of worth. And when you say thanks for noticing, it makes you feel good because then they're going to respond with, well, yeah, that was awesome. I appreciate what you did. It's going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to feel awkward, and you're going to have to be intentional with it. But once you get to the rhythm of doing it on a regular basis to where it becomes conversational, you'll then start to understand what you do every day that brings value, which will make you that much more confident to talk to a realtor or a referral partner about why you do what you do, because you already know from your day-to-day interactions that you are amazing. You do bring it.
Got it. I'm on it.
Got it?
All right, Doug. Thank you, man. I really appreciate it.
Was this helpful?